everybody. So today, another special guest. We have a previous British title winner with the BMBF. Still a young bodybuilder, a lot of potential, got a lot going on, a lot of things I want to talk to him about today. We got Queey with us. How you doing, Queey?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm not bad. So I'm just sorting out my view. How do you pronounce your full name?
So it's actually Kudus Atunche.
Atunche.
Yeah, like it's spelled Atuns,
Yeah.
but it's pronounced Atunche.
So I've never spoken to you about it personally. Whenever I say it in my mind, I say Atunse, and I didn't want to say it wrong.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
nice, nice, nice.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
was
a lot of people,
close,
a
close.
lot of people do get that. No, no, no. You're right. A lot of people do get it wrong, but just how it's pronounced.
Yeah. Now, so yeah. To the people who do not, who may not know who you are, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So everyone knows me as Curie.
Yeah,
That's been my nickname since I was like in high school.
yeah.
Um, So I'm a natural bodybuilder, 25. I competed firstly in 2019, winning the British junior title with the BMBF. And then I made my return to the stage in 2021, winning the Scottish qualifier and best wills, um, and then going on to placing second in the British Championship that
Hmm.
year. Recently came back to the stage this year, um, doing the UKDFBA NBW Classic, coming
Hmm.
in second, coming
Hmm.
in a close second, and then qualifying for the Worlds, which was 3 weeks later, in my hometown, Manchester. So that was, a nice present as it was 1 day before my birthday as well.
Right,
So I
right.
ended up coming fourth in the world, which was a great placing. I was happy with. I thought I brought my best up to the stage between conditioning, fullness, and size. It was a look I was proud of, and it was a placing I was proud of as well.
Yeah. So let's start with your most recent show. So your most recent show, that was your first time doing men's open. Before then, you've done junior classes, or am I wrong?
No, no, no. So my recent show is my second time doing men's open.
Okay.
I did men's open with the BMBF in 2021,
Okay.
which I came second at the British finals that year.
I remember now. I remember now. Yeah, yeah, I competed 2021 and 19.
Yeah,
Both times we competed with each other. Yeah, yeah, I remember.
yeah,
So, one of the main things that I found interesting this year, and I kept telling, sorry, my fucking camera. I kept telling people was when you competed the first time this year, I did not have a clue that you were obviously going to jump on stage. Obviously, you were in great
yeah,
shape. Obviously, you're in great
yeah,
shape, and you'd been doing a lot of running, which again we'll get into depth with in a second. Um, and then yeah, I see a post from your Instagram, and obviously you're also on and off social media from time to time. So
yeah, yeah,
obviously I've been following you since you've been back on. So I've been seeing everything you've been doing, and obviously you train and stuff. But yeah, when you hopped on, I was shocked, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And then Opia was at the show as well, so he messaged me.
yeah.
He's like, "Do you know who Kiwi's gonna be?" And I was like, "No, I had no clue." But yeah, I saw you look real good, and I was like, "Yeah, he's definitely bigger. You were definitely bigger than you were in 21.
Yeah, definitely.
Bigger than you were in 2021. The conditioning you brought to the Worlds a couple of weeks back was probably, I agree with you. It was the best mixture of size, fullness, and condition that I've seen you in.
Yeah,
In 2019, I think that's probably the tightest I've seen you, but you didn't carry the sort of tissue that you carry this time around.
yeah, definitely agreed. In 2019, I thought that was a very good look.
Yeah.
I was super tight. For my age that time and training year, I thought that was a solid look.
Yeah.
I felt like, but this year, I felt like I was bigger,
Yeah.
especially in the pecs and the shoulders.
Mhm.
I think my legs was always my strong point, but especially just the thickness up top
Yeah.
was a bit better this year. Um, conditioning. You know what? It's very difficult to say because my quads was definitely the tightest they've been, but my glutes and hamstrings was probably a bit tighter in 2019.
Right.
But fullness, like you said, was probably better in 2000. Well, this year. But sometimes it's body fat comes off different places. You never really know. Um, but I do think if I was to put this look against 2019 look, I felt like this look would probably get the edge just because of this a bit more size.
Yeah, I do think when you step into men's open, I feel like the overwhelming uh preconception as an athlete at least is you need to go there and you need to be significantly bigger than you were as a junior. But I
Hmm.
think there are smaller, I don't want to say smaller, but there are lighter men's open guys who have a full package of like polish. They come in condition, they come in peaked well, they come in with the right tan, they pose really well. I feel like that carries more value than necessarily just coming in big. And this is why the package you brought to the Worlds, particularly, I think I liked it the best look I've seen you because it looked like a men's open physique. You looked the part, and you didn't have to be as shredded as, for example, your 2019 version of you for that to show through. Obviously, you've got guys who really lean on conditioning, like Chris Palin, and then you have,
Shredded.
like genetic gift, and then you have guys who maybe are more about the size, less about the condition, who still do very well, especially in like qualifiers and stuff. They still do very well. I feel like I said, you had a good balance of both. You've posed well since whenever I've seen you compete, so that was never presentation was never really going to be a problem. But the physique you brought was good. Who I don't know if you want to talk about or not, but who helped you with this prep, or was it Vicky back in the day who helped you before 2019?
Yeah. So in 2019, I was prepped by Vicky, which she runs the BMBF. Great woman, and she probably taught me everything I really know about dieting. Um, because I kind of like studied obviously changes that she made
Mm-hmm.
and food choices,
Mm-hmm.
and she was always a big believer in food, like eating a lot of food in prep and not kind of being on low calorie diets
Yeah.
when it comes to losing body fats.
Yeah.
That just kind of stuck with me every single time throughout the off season, throughout preps. She helped me again in 2021. But this season, I had help from one of my good friends, actually, AJ Morris. And me and AJ have known each other since 2016. So it's been a
Okay.
long time. Just like through social media and stuff. And we've always talked back and forth. But this season, like you said, you didn't know I was competing. Many people didn't.
Yeah.
It was something that I just wanted to do for myself. It was kind of a challenge. Like you said, I got into running this year, and I wanted to see if I can actually do both. At the same time. I actually did a marathon 6 weeks before the first show.
I saw.
Um, so it was kind of something a card that I just owed to my chest, and I just wanted to compete without, no distractions. Just wanted to do it on my own terms. I started off this year actually prepping myself. Just doing things on my own. Like I said, Vicky taught me a lot about dieting, and I kind of just took that same principle, and applied it because it works. Um, so I just started, dieting myself. But you come to a point in prep where no matter how good you are at dieting, or what you know about nutrition, um, you need that extra set of eyes,
Yeah.
just to tell you, oh, you're on track, or you need to speed things up.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, AJ was that, guy to me. So I was, sending him pictures just here and there, and he'll just say, oh, you're on track, or you need to speed things up. So we're just kind of like a friend relationship, at first, like just sending pictures and seeing if you're on track. He was the only one I really told about the show just because I wanted to keep it, to my chest again. I didn't really want a lot of people to know.
Mhm.
But it got to about maybe 4 weeks out, man, like I was so close to being ready, and I just I just couldn't make the decisions myself, really. So I just said, you know what, AJ, just take the reins, and you've been contributing to the plan so far, so why not just take it over
Yeah.
and just tell me what to do. Um so that's when that started. Did 3 weeks with AJ till fully till the qualifier, and I felt like for it being a 13-week prep, bear in mind, I usually diet for about 30 weeks normally, like 24 weeks to the first show and 30 plus weeks to the British finals normally. So this was a 13-week prep.
Yeah.
Um, so for it being a 13-week prep, I thought we bought a good package. Obviously wasn't the tightest I've been, but I was happy with the package for it being a qualifier as well. We knew that we had 3 weeks. If I did qualify, we had 3 weeks to the Worlds.
Hmm.
Um, so the goal was to qualify. We went there, qualified, happy with the package, like I said, and then we had 3 weeks to the World Finals. So for that 3 weeks, I went on a family holiday for a week, but managed to stay on track. Went to a really, really good gym. I've actually got a shout out Compass Gym because this is one of the owners is a PMBA pro, and she made me feel at home, and we had good chats before my training sessions. I had solid training sessions there, and that really helps my prep. Having a good gym to actually train at, not just a hotel gym or some a gym with a few machines and a few dumbbells.
Yeah.
This had everything I needed.
Yeah.
And then brought my best package to the world 3 weeks later. And yeah, so that was with the help of AJ. So from start to about 3 weeks out, more of a friendship, kind of just telling me if I looked okay. But from like 3 weeks to the first show to the world was more of like client and coach relationship.
So do you, it sounds like a silly question, but I ask this because I have an idea of, first of all, what I think prep should be, and second of all, I'm comfortable doing for prep. Are you definitely in favor of the shorter prep, staying in shape, in closer to stage shape year round, and then having a shorter prep because of it? Is that more the vibe you're on going forward, you think? Or are you going
I
to
think I
be medium
I
between?
think yeah, I think I am now. I'm not a fan of staying too lean because I feel like that will affect your performance in the gym. Um, but I'm also not a fan of getting, 25 pound, 30 pound over stage weight. And for me, I feel like I actually perform best maybe about 8 to 9 kilos over stage weight. So that's still a good 20 pounds, I think it works out to be. Um, So 20 pounds over stage weight, probably the limit I'd go. And in terms of the shorter prep, I'm a huge fan of the shorter prep. Not too short where like, you have to rush things, but I feel like a 20-week diet should be enough to get in shape.
Yeah, I think, well, I know, I think I 100% agree with you. My goal, for example, for this next one, I'm sitting at 88.5 at the moment, I think. The heaviest I've been on stage based on somebody else's scales, obviously you can never really necessarily go off of that, was 74 kilo. It was close. No, sorry, on the day it was 72 point something, but I know I wasn't that. So I'm guesstimating about 74. So I'm what? That'll make me 14.5 kilo off stage weight at the moment. Yeah. That is the closest I've been to stage weight in a peak off season ever. So that's assuming obviously I come back the same weight that I was when I last competed, which is unlikely
Yeah,
based on the improvements I've made that I can see anyway. It's very unlikely I'll come back that weight. I'm gonna come back heavier. But a dream to me is between 12 and 10 kilo would be great for a prep for me. I
Yeah,
don't mind. I don't mind 25-week preps. I think 25 weeks is probably the close to the maximum I'd want to go. I think if we did 30, there it would be a reason for it, like the show got pushed back or plans got in the way or something happened. Like I'd find it hard to believe that I would ever plan to do 30 weeks again. But 25 weeks is definitely where I see it. On the other hand, where like a 13 to 14 week prep for me, like you said, it's not that the prep is short. Obviously, that's great. But what that tells me is you coasted so close to your stage weight. Were you really making the level of improvements? Obviously, you'll still make improvements. We're young, you're 25 and 28. We're still young. We're going to grow anyway. But are you still making the level of improvements that you could be making if you got a bit fluffier? I don't like to say fat. There is fat and fat exists, but like fluffy is where I like to be. I like to be in a place where clearly I'm not staging in stage shape, but aesthetically I still look presentable to the general public and my performance is really, really high. That's kind of where I like to sit with it. So that's why I asked that question. We
yeah.
spoke
You know what? I'm
on.
just touching that. I 100% agree with you. And everyone's going to be slightly different. Some people can sit closer to stage weight and still make a lot of progress.
Yeah,
Some people can't.
yeah,
Um, Personally, I from the data I've gathered this year, I can sit about 8 kilos, 8 to 10 kilos over stage weight and make very good progress, especially in the gym.
yeah,
Um, and just looking at pros, guys like David Kay, Mark Claxton, um, even Steve McDonald's.
yeah,
The guys stay very good shape year round,
yeah,
and they're able to make progress every single year when
yeah,
they've been on stage. I think there's something to be said. I think Dave Kay said this on his last podcast for maintaining, um, staying certain number of calories that would allow you to perform your best in the gym, but not gain excess body fat. I think with the case of yourself, I've seen some of your training videos. You're doing ridiculous stuff in the gym. It's not you're doing like 20, 200, 200 and certain kilo deadlift for reps. Like it's just silly. So
mm,
you're doing your performance levels are very, very high.
yeah,
I'm talking maybe the people where um the excess fat can maybe limiting their performance, then I think it's not a good place to be.
yeah. I 100% agree with you, and I want to make it clear from my point of view, sorry, to the people listening. Dave, Nate, Mark Claxton, other guys, Nathan Williams, who don't already know what I'm talking about. These guys are at the top of the sport. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm telling them what they're doing is wrong. That's what I don't want to do. Like I don't want to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
you know what I mean? Maintaining, I would never use the term because I didn't even know that term existed. But what you've just described and what Dave had described is what I'm now going to do at 88.5. Or sorry, when I get down to 88. When I get down to 88 flat, my goal is to keep not goal, my plan, and what I'm going to do is keep my calories at maintenance level where my performance is still where it needs to be because I know my performance will still be good at this weight. And I'll
yeah,
continue lifting how I was lifting, try to put on some tissue without compromising my body composition. So that's the
yeah,
next plan. But I'm never gonna, I didn't want to make it out as if they're wrong because they're not. But
mm,
especially for me and general public, the guys you're also talking about, they're not the genetic elite. They're not all going to be genetically elite like these lot. Like
yeah.
Nate walks around what most of us would consider stage weight. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
it's ridiculous.
He
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
back
yeah,
better every time. So
yeah,
to say that the average person can do that is like not really. But then to say no one else can do that, I'm also not going to say that. There are going to be people
yeah.
out there who can do that.
I definitely think there's some genetic component to it. I'm not gonna sit here and say like us bodybuilders don't have some sort of good genetics,
Yeah.
especially guys that have won the British titles before. Um, so there is some genetic, component to it. Some people just normally just stay lean
Mhm.
year round, and some people have a bit, more trouble. But I think, for the general public, like for everyone, I'll just say, being I need to be able to maybe look at you and think, yeah, you're a bodybuilder, not, oh, you're just fat. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So as long as you're in that place where people can look at you and think, yeah, he's a bodybuilder and he lifts,
Yeah.
then that's probably sitting around that, good weight to be in the off season.
100%. I've got a video in my drafts for Instagram ready to post for next week, and it's talking about this. The stages that I like, the stages that I consider guidelines for me when I know I'm stage ready, lean, fluffy, or fat. And this year I've been fat for like probably 2, 3 weeks. A lot was happening at the same time with like my work and everything, and I kind of lost track
Yeah.
of my diet. I was traveling a lot, just eating whatever I could. Still not like fast food and that, just not things that are great for a bodybuilder. And the main thing that I stopped doing is I stopped being active generally. I stopped. So I was training every day I was meant to train, but I wasn't doing any steps. I was lucky if I got like 2K steps a day. And this went on
Oh
for like
wow.
3 weeks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because a lot of my work is from my laptop. Because
Uh,
yeah, I've shifted from engineer to manager now. So I'm at my laptop a lot. So all I do, laptop all day, go train like an animal. Don't get me wrong, like my weight was going up, so my fucking lifts were unreal, unreal. But yeah, train like
yeah.
an animal. But I was putting on way too much excess body fat. And I knew it, but it was like I need to pick a time where it's actually suitable for me to commit to a mini cut. Then when I decided that, I'm obviously 8 weeks deep now, and I'm 4.5 kilos down. So
Nice.
I'm gonna pull the plug on it at 88. But anyway, enough about me. The point I was making is um fat, identifying when you're fat and identifying when you're fluffy and identifying when you're lean and no longer making progress, they're important parts of the journey that I don't think people necessarily know about.
I
And
think, sorry to cut you off there. Just before lose that train of thought, like, remember I said, um, being leaner in the off season, does have it benefits. But like you just mentioned, being too lean in the off season also um has some detriment
yeah.
to performance.
Mhm.
So it's finding that right balance, and everyone's going to be different. Your your weight in the off season is always going to be different from mine. But
Yeah.
like I said before, as long as you relatively look like a bodybuilder and you're making good performance gains, you've have you ever been in a prep where maybe about, I'll say 12, 13, 14 random amount weeks out, um, you're on plenty of food, so you don't feel tired.
Mm.
You're still strong.
Mm.
You look great, but not too lean.
Yeah.
Um, and everything's just flowing.
Yeah.
I feel like that phase is what I want to be sitting at. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not digging yet, so you're not trying to, get stage lean yet. You shouldn't be anyway at 14 weeks out. You're
Mm.
still strong in the gym. Your lifts are still going up. You're still sleeping well. You still got energy to do other things apart from training. Like that physique right there is probably the ideal physique um to be at, if you get what I'm saying.
I 100% I 100% get what you mean. What I will say, open up this conversation a little bit, is coming down. For example, for me, 86 kilo coming down looks different to 86 kilo going back up again. My 86 kilo coming up and growing into 86 versus losing from 90 down to 86 looks different. My 88 at the moment looks ready to stand on a pro stage. My 90 kilo coming out of a rebound, I was very tight. I had abs. I had more lines than I do now, but I didn't look any bigger. My pumps in the gym were better, and the scale said I was heavy. But I would much prefer to look like I do now at 88.5 than I did 90 coming out of a rebound. That's what I will say.
Yep.
I can't necessarily understand why that is. I don't know if it's water retention from being depleted for so long and your body's holding on to things better than it does now. I couldn't really explain it to you without using bro science. I don't know. I'm not going to act like I know. But coming down looks different to going back up again. And I think sometimes one can look better than the other and vice versa. So for me, like I say, coming down, I always feel like people see me in the gym at the moment and they're like, Gene, you look massive. And I'm like, I've lost 4 kilos. They're like, yeah, but now we can see your shape. You look bigger.
Nice.
Whereas
Yep.
on a rebound coming back up, like you can tell I'm bigger than I was on stage and my waist is still tighter and all this kind of stuff. But like, I don't feel my clothes better than I do now. It's
Man, I think it's more muscle. I think it's just more muscle now. Um, especially guys with a lot of muscle, they can get away with being heavy,
yeah.
but because they've got a lot of muscle, they still got that shape to them.
I knew exactly what you're gonna. Yeah, that's me. 100%. Listen, when I'm wearing clothes, I look like I could be like lean, and then like I take my clothes off. I'm not fat, don't get me wrong, but like I'm
Yeah.
clearly in off season, and it's like, okay, yeah, he's in off season. But yeah, when you've got a lot of muscle, and for me, obviously, I'm short and smaller frame as well.
Yeah, like
Like,
you just look jacked,
yeah,
man.
yeah. It helps. It helps. It definitely helps. Definitely helps. So this takes me on to this conversation brings me on to what we were talking about before we started recording. Your advice to the younger guys and how that related to your 2020 off season / 2021 season. You remember?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
Yep.
wanna?
So after coming off stage in 2019,
Mhm.
I remember we was backstage. We was actually talking about this. It was like, yeah, I think it was between the evening show and the night, between morning show and the night show. We had loads of times we were just talking about some random stuff. I don't even know. He was like, oh, we're gonna come back together in 2021. We're gonna have a big off season and come back together in 2021, and we're gonna,
Yeah.
kill the stage again.
Yeah.
But I remember after 2019, I think you kind of struggled with this a bit as well, and that was like just couldn't control the eating
Oh, it was
after
horrible. It was horrible.
yeah, oh my God. I remember, man. It was me, you, and Marcus. 29 after the 2019 season. I mean, we just went all out on food.
Mhm.
It was ridiculous. Just couldn't control. It was our first season competing,
Yeah.
and I think every first timer always makes this mistake. And I think you've actually got to go through it to to know not to make the mistake
Yep.
again.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So I think gain loads of weight, but then COVID hit in 2020, and obviously everyone was off work, staying at home, and there was this eat out to help out thing. Everything was like half price,
Mhm.
so it was all in all the wrong places as well, like Mackey's
100%.
and
Yeah.
you know so um so I obviously gained a lot of weight. I think so. I compete around 70 kilos, and I think the heaviest I got that off season was about 96, 95, 96 kilos.
You get heavier than me.
Yeah, man. And most of that weight was like in the first 2 months
Mm.
or 3 months. So it was a lot of weight very quick. Um, but what I did notice was, although I gained a lot of weight, um, it didn't show in my 2021 physique, right? I gained a lot of weight. I was making good progress in the gym. Um, but I think within that period as well, like when I was gaining weight so quick, I kind of had a shoulder injury. I wasn't sure if it was because of the weight gain, like your leverages change when you gain weight.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure if the weight gain had something to do with it, or I was just training stupid. I don't, I couldn't tell you. But I had a shoulder injury as well in 2021, leading to 2020, 2022, no 2020, leading to 2021. So I gained a lot of weight. but performance was relatively good. And then, but obviously training wasn't the best because of COVID. But we did what we can. We were using broomsticks as dumbbells,
Mm.
and picking up water to do dumbbell curls. But we did what we can. And 2021 came around, and that's when I wanted to compete. Um, this time it was a really, really, really long prep, just because I was so out of shape. Started that in January, and I think the first show wasn't till August.
Right,
So it
right.
was a long prep to the first show.
Mm.
So coming from like 96 kilos back down to 70 kilos, that was 26 kilos of weight.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like that, that just totally drained me mentally. Um, and it really showed in my physique. I think there's something to be said for the mental aspect of prep as well that people don't really speak about. People put transformations on Instagram and say, "Oh, this is me before and after," but don't really talk about the mental, difficulties that it takes to get to that, stage, especially when you're talking stage lean. Um, I felt like personally that excess weight gain affects my physique in a very bad way, and it didn't allow me to showcase my true potential on stage. I felt like I was so mentally fatigued from having to drop so much weight, and this was all my fault because I put on the weight.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I felt like I was so mentally fatigued from from dropping that weight. Um, One, it affected my training sessions just
Mm.
because I wasn't there mentally, affected my sleep. I
Mm.
remember I was waking up at like I was only able to sleep for like 2 hours at a time, waking up, sleep. Like my sleep cycle was messed up.
Mm.
Um, and it's just a message out there, especially why I preach the whole like not getting fat and still looking like a athlete, even in the off season. Because I think if you look like an athlete in the off season, um, you're in shape regardless. Like, yeah, you might not be stage lean, but the average person can see you and go, he's in pretty good shape, even though you're not in a great shape for bodybuilding.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I feel like it's so much easier to get stage lean when you're in relatively good shape,
Hmm.
mentally as well.
Hmm.
Not just physically, but mentally as well. Going from 76 kilos to 70 kilos is different from going from 96 kilos to 70 kilos
Yeah.
mentally. Um, and I do feel like it does affect some people's physiques as well, because I've seen it before. I've seen people get too fat and then ending up on stage not looking good.
Yeah.
And they might be the same stage weight that they've been before, but the skin's been stretched out. The skin don't look quite as
Yeah, yeah,
tight.
yeah.
The muscle looks a bit different. It doesn't look quite as hard. It looks a bit softer.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like staying a bit leaner. Do you always notice this that sometimes in prep you don't drop weight, but you physically look leaner, you physically look
Yeah,
tighter.
yeah.
And I feel like that's what happens when stay a bit leaner, even if you're not gaining excess body weight in the off season. That muscle is getting tight, it's getting dense.
Yeah,
So when you do drop down to being stage lean, you're gonna look better.
yeah.
So you don't have to be. A lot of people on social media think you have to be this much over stage weight to make progress.
Mm.
And I'm telling you now, um, you don't, because the pros that I know, they don't get
Yeah,
fat.
yeah.
I see Dave. Dave K is a prime example because I consider him like top of the top. And if I want to get there, that's the person I'm gonna,
Of
look at
course.
and think
Of
I'm
course.
gonna do what he does. Obviously, we don't have the same genetic makeup,
Yeah, yeah.
but you learn from people who've done the things that you want to do.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And so I look at them guys like Dave K, even Doug Miller, um, guys like that. They stay in very, very good shape year round,
Hmm.
and they train very, very hard.
Hmm.
And they eat a lot of food.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I feel like that is the perfect way to the build bodybuilding. We bodybuild because we love to train.
Mhm.
You love to train. I love to train, but I also love to look good. You
Yeah.
know, so I feel like it's just a message out there to everyone, to like obviously especially the young kids growing up. Look at the people that you want to look at, and the people at the top of the sport,
Mm.
and they're setting the example. Don't look at this social media guys telling you have to be 40, 50 pounds over stage weight to make progress.
Yeah.
Look at the people that won world titles, that have, done all these amazing stuff, and you just have to follow in their blueprint. Like it's not difficult. Like success leaves clues,
Yeah.
and these guys have been doing it for years. And if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
There's nothing magical and there's nothing new about training and bodybuilding. Like e- everyone that's done the sport before usually pass on their information
Yeah.
to, like we've been around the sport, and we've asked people for advice, guys like Opio, like I said, Dave, Nate, and they're always willing to give, good advice. And one thing that I always learn from them guys is stay in shape,
Yeah.
reasonable shape,
Yeah. Yeah.
lift big, and eat your carbs.
Mm.
You know, them three, and stay consistent. You
Yeah.
know, those four advice, is what I would want to give everyone,
Yeah.
because you follow them four things and you're going to be a good bodybuilder.
100%. I think one of the main things that you said that emulates with me massively is basically don't try to reinvent the wheel. I think one thing with social media, because everyone's trying to be relevant, I think
Yep.
people don't want to echo the same point, whether they agree with it or not. They always want to try and find something new that they're not even necessarily doing. Now, if it's something new that they're doing and it's benefiting them, hey, I can't say anything. Yes, it might not work for other people or not everybody, and it might not be a widespread bit of advice, but it might be something that you've genuinely tried and you're like, this has genuinely worked for me. Try it. If
Yep.
it doesn't work for you, by all means, fine. But there are people trying to reinvent the wheel because they want to be relevant. And like you said, success leaves clues, and the people that you should be watching are doing what they're practicing what they're preaching. They're doing what they say they're doing. One thing with me, like I very well know that again, this year I've stayed what I consider relatively lean. I haven't stayed Dave K and Nate lean, obviously, but I've
No,
stayed.
but to be fair, to be honest, I've seen your pictures, and you look good, especially if you're comparing it to like previous off seasons. I
Yeah,
feel like every year you kind of because I've done three preps, but you've only done two.
yeah, yeah,
So so remember, you've got to look at it in progress from one year to the other. Like you're not the same shape like in the off season right now than you was last off season. So there is improvements. Like
yeah,
my so my first off season was my this off season was better than last, and last one, and that one was better than one after that. So you always learn, and you've learned this as well. Like, are you any weaker than you was last time?
No, of course not. I'm stronger than I've ever
Is,
been.
is that? But you're lighter,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you look better, and you've got more muscle.
yeah.
So like, it's all a learning curve. But like obviously you've got Opio in your corner as well. So
That's what I was gonna say though. So like, so I do my off seasons on my own, and I always have.
yeah,
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 and it's because I always wanted to learn my body and have control of. Because when I started bodybuilding, I came from football. But when I was in football, I looked after my body like a footballer looks after his body. So you'll have, we're not gonna call them cheat meals. You'd have fast food more frequently than you would as a bodybuilder because you're doing high intensity exercise. You're sprinting. So if again, my cousin's a pro, and sometimes he's having a fucking burger. And
yeah, man. My brother plays for Oldham.
oh yeah,
Oldham
yeah, yeah,
Athletic.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he's constantly eating burgers, but he looks good.
Of
Like
course they do.
he's shredded.
Yeah,
Um, you know what? Funny you say. I didn't actually know you used to play football. I used to play football, so I used to play semi-pro for Chadder in town under
Right,
21s
right.
before I got into bodybuilding. And same thing, eating whatever we want and still, still looking the part.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like I played semi-pro as well for a couple of teams. I played for Aldermaston, Highmore Ibis, and Reading Town. Reading Town and now Reading City is now what they're called. But yeah, I played for a while from like 18 to no, before that. Yeah, no, 18 was my first semi-pro contract. And then played till 21. No, 22. That's when I started bodybuilding. That's when I started training. So I I went into bodybuilding like cool. Chicken and rice is normal, but high carbs is also normal because you've got a massive output. Then I started paying attention to Evan Centopani, Rich Piana, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler. These lot are having more protein than carbs. So I switched to more protein than carbs because I didn't understand what natural bodybuilding was versus enhanced bodybuilding. I didn't have a clue about any of it. Yeah. So then, cool. That's what kind of where I started going with it. Then I started watching people like Simeon Panda, Ulysses. They eat completely different. So I'm like, oh shit. Now I need to figure out really what I should be doing. I got to a point where my carbs and my fats combined were less than my protein intake. Yeah. But I
Oh
was
wow.
yeah. But I was eating so much food. The first time I got to Opio, the first time Opio ever met me, not met me, but like took me on as a client,
Yep.
I went to him solid but fat. Yeah. So when I say solid but fat, I knew what fat was because of football. So there was no flab. I wasn't flabby. I was just a flipping unit. But like, you know what I mean? And I went to him
Yeah.
and he was like, you're going to do very well. But that prep was 26 weeks. So then that was 2019, obviously. So then the following season, my mind the whole time is 2020, obviously, with COVID and all everything we've already spoken about. My whole thing is cool. Stay not lean, but stay around 82 is what I told myself because I was 73 on stage that year. So I was like 11 kilo up and stay there for a year. Cool. Got out of prep, could not handle the hunger. We've
Oh
already spoke about it. We were sending each other
yeah.
pictures of each other. My
Yeah.
phone the next day was this big.
Oh man, like bro, it's crazy. Like
It's ridiculous.
um we was like I'm 2 weeks post show now. I think I'm like 1.5 kilos up from stage weight.
Yeah.
Um but back then it was more like 7 kilos up.
It was
Um
ridiculous, bro.
but one tip as well for people, sugar,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, post competing is not good
No,
for you.
no.
Do you know what I mean? And we was eating donuts and
Mm.
cookies, high sugar food. When in prep, remember you're not really eating sugar.
Not
Um,
really.
so when your body's deprived of sugar for how many, like 20 something plus weeks,
Yeah,
and then post show you're eating burgers, you're eating donuts, cookies, all that sugar is just gonna blow you up. Like you can eat a lot of carbs post show, but not sugar,
yeah.
and maintain a very, very good look. And that's what I've done after my
That,
prep. I've been yep, I've been eating about close to 4,000 calories daily
yeah,
after the show. All from clean food. So your usual potatoes, rice, oats. Um, I've been having tortilla wraps, making my own burgers with like lean beef,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mince, some cheese and stuff. And like I said, I weighed myself today and was 1.5 kilos over stage weight. And it's been fine. Do you know what I mean? But it's the sugar. Sugar will fuck up your life
We're
post
in
show.
we're in a different place now as well. So like after 2021, when I won my pro card, I started making videos on Instagram about my rebound, yeah. And the main talking point whenever I spoke about it was finding zero sugar snacks,
Yep.
sugar-free donuts. Because one thing I can't tell somebody is completely avoid sweets, snacks, that kind of stuff.
Not after 20 something weeks of
No,
diet.
I can't. Yes, I mean, I
Yeah,
can't tell you that. But what I
yeah,
can tell you is usable information about what you can eat without jeopardizing your rebound. And
yep,
I think I put on, by the end of my rebound, I think I was maybe 7 kilo up, maybe.
nice,
Then
nice.
I actively started.
I think that was in like a 12-week period, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
that
it's
was
12
good.
weeks. Yeah, it's
Yep,
12 weeks.
yep,
It's 12 weeks. So then I actively went, cool, now it's time to get big. And I started pushing my
yep.
food. And like I said, I got to 80. No, sorry. I got to like 91 with abs. I'm 5'5". I've never been like that before.
You know, a lot of people think talk bro science when we say like you can gain some muscle in the rebound phase, but I actually think it's a real thing. Like
100%.
your body's so deprived of food, and if no matter how high your food is, you're still in a calorie deficit.
Yes.
Um, so your body's so deprived of food, and then after the show, when you do put clean meals in and add that with training performance going up, then you're gonna gain a little bit of muscle after that in that period
100%.
because it's a new stimulus for the body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so people always say, "Oh, how much muscle can you gain in bound phase?" But each to their own. But I do think it's a real thing, and I'm doing it right now, and you did it as well.
Yeah.
Um, Clean carbs, training performance going up, and you will see some progress in that 12-week period post competing.
Listen, I love bro science. Bro science mixed with listen, I love bro science. I always love bro science. Bro science mixed with real science where it's applicable is the perfect way to approach anything. Anybody who tells me that these scientific studies are being done on long-term active bodybuilders, they're lying. You
Yeah,
can't use what an average man should be eating in a day as a requirement or a advisory note for me who trains crazy, has way more muscle mass than that person does, way more active generally. You can't tell me that. BMI still says I'm obese.
yes.
Who's
I,
who's
I,
who's healthier? The average guy who sits under the BMI rate that does absolutely nothing, or me who's apparently obese that does 10K steps a day without fail minimum, and trains and eats all ground food, all hard food. You can't tell me you can't. I'm not having it. So bro science, they can call it bro science if they want. I'm never going to be ashamed of applying real life experience and real life results that I see in me and other people around me and my peers. You're never going to tell me that I'm foolish for following that. It's proofs in the
that,
pudding.
exactly, that's facts, man. Like, yeah, all these studies as well. Like you said, they're not. Most of them are not done on active, bodybuilders, and
No,
they're not done for a long duration of time. Because I study exercise and nutrition as medicine at Salford University.
nice.
And we do a lot of body scans, DEXA scans, body fat testing and some underwater testing. So there's like rugby and football players coming in
Yeah.
to do all that type of testing, and we, sort out, nutrition requirements. And what you'll learn about that with athletes, like the general guidelines, you can almost just scratch that. Like that has nothing to
Absolutely
do
nothing.
with, that literally has nothing to do with
No.
when you're talking about athletes wanting to perform at the highest level.
Yeah.
Like so it's totally different. It's almost like they should make another, guideline for athletes. Do you know what I mean? It's totally different.
There should be one per sport. I know bodybuilding is not so big, so bodybuilder might be at the back end of that list. But at least for football
Yeah.
players, how many professional high level football players are there? Rugby players, cricket, golf. Like you can't tell me that a golfer's diet is going to be anywhere near reminiscent of a rugby player's diet. You
Exactly.
can't, you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. They're nowhere near the same. So it doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense. Coming from football, like I said, yes, my diet now is high carb, moderate protein, low fat. As a football player, you can have high carb, high fat, You want the
You can have
protein. You can have
exactly.
whatever you want because you're like,
Yeah.
well, I'm sprinting it off, mate. That's
Yeah, it's them fast twitch muscle fibers. Obviously, you're
yeah,
using a lot of carbs mainly for your fuel, so
yeah,
you can burn through a lot quicker.
exactly.
But in terms of nutrition as well, obviously, I think we're going to touch up my running and stuff.
Yeah,
Like you said, um, before my diet was higher carbs, um, moderate, no, high protein, moderate fat.
right.
But now I've actually increased my fats by a lot actually, um, because of the type of sport that I'm doing. Like you said, they require different
Mhm.
different fuel sources. Like I'm mainly training to run a marathon, and the primary fuel for that is fats. So it's a slow we're running at a very slow pace,
Yeah,
right? But for a long period of time.
yeah,
Sprinters are running very fast
yeah,
for a short period of time.
yeah,
So their primary fuel source is carbs.
yeah,
They've got to eat a lot of carbs. But with slow endurance training, it's mainly based on fats. We're going up fat, and where our primary fuel source is fats, and I've got to make sure that my diet is tailored to that.
yeah.
So, like you said, you've got to look at what sport you're doing and tailor your diet to that. Of course, I still want to build muscle because I'm still a bodybuilder. What I always say to people when they say, "Oh, how do you run and train at the same time and balance it?" I'm like, don't forget, I'm a bodybuilder that runs. I'm not a runner that bodybuilds.
Right,
Do you know
right,
what I
right.
mean? Like, so there's a difference.
Yeah,
This I still eat 5 meals a day like a bodybuilder. A lot of protein like a bodybuilder. Train like a bodybuilder, but I just sprinkle a little bit of running in there. So I didn't come from the background of running where them guys typically sometimes you'll find that they don't actually eat as much calories as they should.
yeah,
That's why a lot of runners are maybe underweight
yeah,
because they're burning a lot of calories and they're not fueling as they should.
yeah,
What I really learned to that running world and being friends with some runners is they don't eat enough.
yeah.
I always like some of them do. Don't get me wrong. I do know some other runners out there that do eat enough. But if I'm just
Yeah,
generalizing,
broad,
I'll
yeah,
say
yeah.
I'll broad statement. I'll just say most of them don't eat enough. So so it's just like I get a lot of comments about, oh, how do you maintain your muscle mass while running? Because people think I'm trying to be some marathon runner that runs daily and eats, leaves and I'm
Yeah.
a bodybuilder true and true. So I'm gonna eat 5 meals a day. I'm
Mm.
gonna train hard in the gym and I'm gonna run. And that's how I'm able to, maintain muscle and even gain muscle, whilst still running.
Cool. Let's start because I have questions and concerns about all of this. Yeah. So let's start with my comments, which bear on the side of negatives, and then we'll go to your interest in running and where it came from, which is more of a positive vibe. Yeah. So we'll go with
Yeah,
my
yeah,
concerns. I'm speaking for
yeah,
me, not for anybody else. From my point of view, QE, what you're doing, you are doing it the best I can imagine someone doing it. You're eating the best way you can while you're doing what you're doing. You're clearly maintaining size because you're the biggest I've seen you, but your conditioning is still good for a show. You don't look tired mentally and physically. You just look happy. Like I'm not faulting none of that. Yeah, you're out living your life. Yeah, the gene that's got concerns is just the competitive bodybuilder gene. Forget you being happy with life and all this other stuff. I'm
yeah,
talking we need to be winning. That's where I'm coming from now, yeah?
yeah.
Do you feel like, because I do not
Mm.
feel like you can maximize your muscle growth while doing this. Now, that doesn't mean you can't grow. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean you can't maximize your muscle growth within this activity you're doing, which I think you're doing very well, to be honest. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, say you took running out and you were all bodybuilding again, do you think you'd be making more progress than now? Is my
You
first
know
question.
what? You know what? That's actually a very good question, and I'm glad you asked me this. First, before I answer that, I've got to say why I started running, and it will lead to the answer for
Yeah,
that
go ahead,
question.
go ahead, go ahead.
In like I said, in 2021, you know, mentally that prep kind of just messed me up, and I kind of lost like a lot of love for bodybuilding, and that was the period where I went off social media for quite a long time. Me and you spoke on WhatsApp and stuff,
Yeah,
but I was off social media, and I didn't train for a long period of time. Actually, I took quite a bit of time off training just because I didn't love it anymore,
yeah,
and that's when I started running. I started running because my girlfriend's dad actually runs, like, they do this park runs every single week,
yeah.
um, and they do like a 5K run every single weekend. And so I just said, why not just join them doing that? And
Hmm.
so I was doing that every single weekend, and I just enjoyed. I just loved running. I don't know, I just enjoyed it, so I just carry on doing it. Um, but doing when you first start something new, you're searching on the internet saying, oh, how to be faster, how to be,
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? And so uh, um a lot of the information I read was about weight training, that you've got to weight train to be a runner as well. So I was like, oh, weight training, that's what I do. Like, so I started went back to the gym again, started doing especially a lot of stuff on my like calves and a lot of ankle mobility, stuff like that. And one thing turns to another. You go to the gym for a lower body session and you be like, just come back tomorrow and do chest.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
I'll come back tomorrow, do back.
Mm,
And then I'll come back tomorrow, do arms. And then it just became, I just started training again.
mm.
But I wasn't training to be a bodybuilder. I was just training because I enjoyed it again. Um, so that's where that stemmed from. So the running that I was doing actually brought my love back for training. Um, so uh, doing both of both doing both of that, I realized when running, I'm at my best mentally. Like when just going on a run, putting my headphones in, like what, I can't describe the feeling, but what I can say is I've like you said, you used to play football, right? That feeling of football. Let's say you're in the cup finals and you win. Do you know that mental feeling that you do, that buzz that you get? You're with your teammates,
Yeah.
you're thinking. I feel like I get that buzz whilst running, even though I'm by myself. Like, I can't explain it. You've
They
got
call
to,
it they call it they call it runners high, don't they?
yeah, yeah, runners high. But I'm just trying to like explain it in a different,
Yeah.
term. Like, I just, uh, yeah, for people that don't run, like, I can't explain it. It's something you kind of have to go through. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like prep. It's just like bodybuilding prep. You got to go through it to
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
Um, and then I'll do that mental for my mental, and then I'll go into the gym and start lifting. Um, notice your body training from a physical aspect. So, long story short, to answer your question, um, maybe I'd be a better bodybuilder if I strictly um, did bodybuilding, but I wouldn't be a better person. Um, I'm a better I'm a better person running and lifting, and I much rather be a better person than a better bodybuilder. And um, even if that means that I'll be 10%, 15% worse as a bodybuilder, then it's fine. It's honestly fine with me.
I'm glad.
And it's crazy that I'm saying this right now, because if you'd asked me this a year ago, two
Yeah.
years ago, like when I was like 100% in
Mm,
just bodybuilding, I'd have said no chance. Like, and if anything that would stop me from being the best I can possibly be on stage, I wouldn't do. But now, um, I'd rather trade, that in for mentally feeling better,
mm.
physically feeling better. Um, yeah, that long that so that is my so that's my answer. I'm not gonna say, oh, if you want to be a great bodybuilder you need to run as well, because you don't,
No, no, no.
and you probably shouldn't. um if it's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
But if it makes you feel better and mentally, and you can still train how you want to train, um, and yeah, you just it is what it is.
I'm glad I asked you because I've been wanting to ask you for a while, and I'm glad I got the answer I got and the answer you just gave because there's two aspects I look at it from. So from a life point of view, like I said, you're clearly happy. You're the happiest I've seen you in I don't know how long. You clearly are passionate about the running, even though it doesn't necessarily trump your bodybuilding. It seems to be side by side. It seems to be they go hand in hand now. Listen, I'm happy for you. Like when I see my people's happy, I'm happy. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
ain't got nothing to say about that. From the bodybuilding side now, from the bodybuilding competitive gene, I'm also now on side because it ties in similarly to what we were talking about with Dave K and staying lean and all this stuff. My approach, yeah, has always and probably will always be that I have 2 cheat meals a week. Yeah, in the off season, not in prep. Prep, I'm a absolute robot. But
yeah.
yeah,
Peppers, potatoes, and oats.
exactly. So,
That's
but off season, it's always going to be twice a week because Wednesday is for what I like to say performance. That helps me mentally to attack a deadlift session or a back session. It's just something I struggle with mentally to get in the zone for as much as my other sessions. And then Saturday is for my missus. That's for family time. That's the cheat meal. That's for social, for to allow people to enjoy me because I'm happy not doing that on a Saturday and staying home and
yeah.
playing FIFA on my own and chilling. But if I'm gonna go out or go to I'm going to a party this Saturday. So my cousin's party, he's having a party at his. They're obviously going to be serving food, probably going to be barbecue food if the weather's good. To go there and be like, oh guys, I got my Tupperware with me again.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
88.5 kilo. It's like, well, why? You know what I mean? Why?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for prep, you're like, cool. But for other
There's
stuff, why?
prep. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So if anyone tried saying, but Gene, if you cut that out and you're on clean food all the time, you would be 5% better. I'd be just like you. I'd sit here right now, the wins I've got and all that kind of stuff and the potential that I've got to get the goals I want to hit. I'm gonna sit here and be like, well, then I'm not doing it. Because
Do you know?
I'm not sitting here for 10 years, never feeling like I'm gonna have a burger. I'm not doing
Do
that.
you
That is it's not happening.
man, man, it's true. Like people forget placings, but they don't forget memories.
No.
Like, do you know, like in 20, you know what I remember most about 2019
Mm.
is me, you, and Erin Bevan talking about pistachios
Pistachios.
nuts. Yeah, yeah, I'm talking about the person peeling the shells or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know something like that is what I remember most. Um, although I won the British title that year, what I cherish the most is that time in between the morning and night show when we were just catching bands
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
we were just there was no care about placing. We were just talking.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, stuff like going to family get together in the off season and you having your Tupperware out, eating things whilst your family are catching joke around the table, eating together, socializing. I
Mhm.
get it. In prep, it's totally different. You
Yeah,
got
yeah,
to
yeah.
do what you got to do,
Yeah.
and your family will understand that it's only for this short period of
Yeah.
time. But when you carry that into off season, it's like, okay, maybe you can be 2% better on stage
Mhm.
if you stick to your Tupperware and stuff. But your family will always remember the memories you had together,
Yeah.
and if that means you're 2% worse, does that really matter if you're gonna have a great relationship with your friends, your family, and you're gonna be able to enjoy life a little bit more? You know, I think with me saying all this, yeah, people don't get it misunderstood. Like you still have to work hard, and
Yeah.
you still have to eat your meals,
Yeah.
and you still have to be on track if you want to be the best you possibly can be.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is there is there is stuff that you can have in life where you're like, no, I am not willing to sacrifice this for prep. Even no matter how small. Like this prep, I was not willing to sacrifice having a protein bar every single day.
Yeah, yeah,
Like you'll see on my story, I probably had a grenade bar every single day
yeah.
because it made me feel sane, like going through a bodybuilding prep. And I had a protein bar every single day of prep, right? Because it just made me feel good.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was not going to prep without a protein bar. Like that's probably stupid, but
No, no, no,
what I
no.
am, but what I'm using that to like say that that could be the same as like a family thing in the off season. You can be like, oh, I'm not going to go into the off season thinking, right, I must eat this, eat that, no matter what. Family get together, birthdays, I'm gonna miss them. I must eat my meals. Like that is probably the wrong mindset to have. So you can you can make life fit bodybuilding.
You can
No, sorry. You can make bodybuilding fit your
fit
life,
life. Yeah,
not make life fit bodybuilding.
yeah. You
If
can.
you if that makes sense.
I know exactly what you mean. You can. And in my 2021 prep, where I was incredibly focused on getting my pro card and just being number one in general, I went to every single family function that happened. Every Tupperware in hand. Don't get me wrong,
But
but
but you still went.
I went to every single one. I remember telling Deanna, 2019, all I remember is suffering because I ignored life and kept myself in this little bubble, and it made my first ever prep, which was 26 weeks. My second prep was 36 because the show got pushed back.
Yeah.
It made my 36-week prep. I say this all the time. I tell Opie all the time. I only struggled the last 3 weeks. 33
Nice.
straight weeks, I was perfectly fine. If you saw me in the
Nice.
gym, I was happy. I was perfectly. Don't get me wrong. I had my moments with like
Yeah. Yeah.
actual like work stressing me out and stuff, but it
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
nothing to do with prep really. It was just, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it was just because I left my mind and my heart open to letting life happen and still prepping alongside that.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong, I would never allow myself to have something off plan on prep, but it's
Yeah.
because although I have an understanding of nutrition, I also, there's just this thing in me that's like every single time you think something is boring or difficult or you don't want to do it, that's what you should be doing because someone else isn't doing it. That's how I am.
Fact.
But in the real, in like again, in the real world, when we stand up,
Yeah.
when we get off stage and we're not imposing trunks anymore, the way you
Yeah.
look at things and the way you've just described things is crucial because life
Yeah.
goes on after. Life goes on
That's people who don't understand. Life goes on after prep, and the
100%.
people you treated badly, and the you know, um, your family members, the interactions you had. Maybe you was in a bad spot in prep, and you took it out. You always take it out on the people closest to you as well.
100%.
They remember even after prep. So you've got to, manage your prep in a way where you're not losing love. I've seen people like literally go out of relationships because of bodybuilding preps. Like, how? Yeah, I don't like you're willing to lose potentially someone that's gonna stick with you for the rest of your life for bodybuilding prep. I mean, like it shouldn't be you shouldn't have to be like that. You should be able to prep and have a partner at the same time. Like people that go out of relationship in prep because of the prep, I don't understand that.
I think to some people, what I will say, you and I are very similar. We're both genetically gifted. We can kind of do what we like and still succeed. So I'm not gonna sit here and act like genetics are not on our side, yeah? But what I will say is some people put bodybuilding on a pedestal because it might be all they have away
Yeah,
from that. And I think let's take the people out who make a living from bodybuilding because in natural bodybuilding, there's not many. Obviously, you've got guys who
mm,
are social media influencers and get paid through that, but it's few
yeah,
between. So, generally speaking, I just think there are people who put it on such a high pedestal. My first love will always be football. So, as much as I love bodybuilding, I love bodybuilding. I've said this on a recent podcast, on a recent episode. I don't remember who it was with. I love bodybuilding because I'm good at it.
yeah,
I'm just gonna be honest. If I was finishing, if I finished third 3 times in a row, I'm not coming back.
Well, it probably depends. Like what? Obviously, if you're fit,
There's levels to this. Yeah. There's
yeah,
levels
yeah,
to this. Yeah. I know what you mean. There's levels to this. But
yeah.
like,
But if you're losing to people you shouldn't be losing to,
yeah. It's not happening.
um, then it's probably a bit,
It's not
you
happening.
know,
I'm not gonna lie to you. Listen,
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you. I
yeah,
love bodybuilding. I love bodybuilding
yeah,
all my heart now. But I'm
yeah,
telling you, I love it as much as I do because I win. If I don't
yeah,
win, I'm gonna be like, cool. I'm sure there's something else I can be good at, and it doesn't have to be sport. I'll go put more energy into that thing because that thing
yeah,
is clearly meant for me. But there are
yeah,
people out there who are like, I only stopped playing football because of my 2 injuries, big ones, and I've never been injured before those 2 injuries, and they both happened, and they were season enders, both of them. So
wow,
it got to a point where I was like, gee, man, this isn't going to work out for you for financial side of things. Just leave it. And I'm not willing to do this as just a hobby when I know how good I am.
yeah,
That would have pissed
yeah,
me off more. I'd rather just not do it. So when I come to bodybuilding now, I came here because I started in the gym. I fell into it because I was good at it. I started putting tissue on like it was nothing. So I was like, yeah, I might as
I
well.
mean, British champion your first year.
Well, you know what I mean? I was fighting for that pro card. Like that's what I wanted my first year. And again, I'm
Yeah,
not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, it's the hard work. Yes, it's the hard work. But there are
yeah,
people who also work hard who are not doing what I'm doing. So I'm not gonna sit here and act like
I mean,
genetics don't matter.
yeah. I mean, like, we all sugarcoat it and stuff and be like, yeah, we'll work hard. And probably what I'm doing with all this running and weightlifting is probably something to do with genetics as well.
It's
And
100% to do with genetics. Queey, yeah,
so,
Queey. Let me tell you something. Sorry to cut you. Let me tell you something right now, yeah? Let me tell you something right now. In my depletion week, third day, I looked full enough to stand on stage. I had barely any food. My muscles flat. My body don't know what flat is. My body
yeah,
doesn't know what flat is.
I've seen the side chest. I've seen the
This is
side
what I
chest.
mean. My body does not know what flat is. So for me to sit here and be like, oh yeah, you need to do that. No. It's genetic. Sorry, it's genetic. You running around like Mo Farah and still coming in the biggest I've ever seen you. I'm sorry, it's genetic. It's genetic. It just is.
No, no, I know what you mean. Like we can sit and say this, that, and you know, I mean, I can, I don't know, like I can run like 50K a week,
Yeah.
and my legs still look big. Like,
Yeah.
like my quads, this year probably the best they've ever looked. Like I
Hmm?
had striations from like my knees to my hip,
Yeah.
like just running and and I was still running. So I mean, I
Yeah.
did a marathon 6 weeks before a show, and I was marathon training up until maybe about 2 weeks before the show.
Mm.
So it's probably some genetics
Of
involved,
course.
but that's with everything.
Yeah.
We say that, but it's with everything. Basketball players, um, you know,
That's
football
the one.
players.
That's the one I always use. I want to be in the NBA, but unfortunately, I'm
So,
5'5". It ain't for me. It ain't
wait,
for me.
are you actually 5'5"? I don't think you're 5'5".
So I'm 5 foot.
Yeah,
I'm 5 foot
I'm
five.
sure we're the
Hmm?
I'm sure we're the same height.
No, I'm
You're not
five.
shorter than me.
I'm 5'5". 5.5. I'm 166 centimeters, I think.
You sure?
Yeah,
Because
give me 2 seconds. I got measured at the doctor before my hernia examination, like recently, like a couple months ago.
because we was actually filling my application for the world and I put down 167, but I think I had to round it up because I was 166 point something something something, so I rounded it up to 167.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that. It's backwards anyway. I'm 166 centimeters, which is 5'5", 5.354.
Okay, yeah, that's probably about right because I think we're roughly about the same height.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we got pictures together. We're roughly the same height.
yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm only little, so me doing NBA is not happening. I'd love to get that money.
it's,
I'd love to be a little Nate Robinson, but it wasn't for me.
it's,
So
it's tough, man.
you got to play to your strengths. Is what it is.
That's the thing. Like, obviously, we're all living in a world where like genetics unfortunate, it does matter. And the hardest worker in the room is probably not always going to win. It's
No,
probably just going to be the best person in the room, even
that's
if
it.
they're not the hardest worker. Um, but it's just about, working hard, working to your best abilities.
Yeah,
And although you said we do have, some good genetics, we also like train hard and we
yeah.
also, stay on top of, our nutrition. So even there might be people out there that maybe they've not got the best genetics, but as long as you work hard and train hard, there will be a level that you'll get to
Mm,
that is still going to be better than the average
of course,
person that's not really working. So you're always going to be better than the average,
of course.
no matter what your genetics are. If you put in the if you put hard work.
No, 100%. I always say like I don't like to come across as like this hardcore bodybuilder guy. I will say I am very in my day-to-day life in like real life, I am very selfish with my time is what I want to say. I don't want to say I'm an introvert because clearly I have social skills. But like I my instinct is I'd much rather be at home with my missus and watch a movie and eat fast food than I would go out and party. That's what I
Yeah,
will.
same.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
not.
yeah,
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
It's you know what, like that what you just described there, like just staying at home with your missus and just like eating and chilling. Like for me, that's life. Like that is some like I'd rather do that than go like clubbing with some randomers and just
Hmm.
like people that I don't even know and just partying. Like being with, I've really this past few that year or two, I've really cherished like time with loved ones as well. Um, I actually work at a retirement home,
All
like
right.
work in care. So I see a lot of like old people, and some with families, some without, and um, and obviously people passing away and stuff. And we see a lot of families show up after people have passed away that's not been showing up like the years before that. And I always think to myself, I never want to be one of them people
Yeah.
with loved ones, with my mom, dad, with my girlfriend, like brothers, sisters. Um, cherishing that time, always, I always prioritize that, spending time with family, sitting at home and watching movies together. Like, they might not show that they appreciate, like, me and my sisters and brothers always joke around, like, calling each other names, saying, oh, I don't ever want to be next to, just brother love. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, we all appreciate that time together. And, it's just, I feel like that is life. And that, you know what, that actually makes your like training and bodybuilding and all stuff that actually makes it better.
So much
Like
better.
it's like your relationship with your family and just being a happier person and a
Yep.
more like in tune person with your family and your friends will have impact on your training as well.
100%.
You know,
100%. It's so important. And if I can take anything from what you just said, because I feel exactly the same way you do, if I can take anything you just said to dumb it down to the youngers who are starting, enjoy yourself. Enjoy
yep,
yourself. Bodybuilding's tough, but bodybuilding can be fun and tough at the same time. They're not mutually, well, yeah, they don't need to be separate from each other. You
yep.
know,
So it can be part of the thing. Like it's the it you have to embrace the suck. Yeah, you just like it doesn't have, yeah, it's difficult, but you kind of have to enjoy that difficulty. That
Yes,
that
exactly.
that it being difficult will make you a better person at the end of it.
It will. Some people are not cut out for it, and that's fine. And the people who are not cut out for it, the only way you can know that is if you try it and don't like it. I can't
Yeah,
tell you just from sitting there that because you don't like doing your chores at home means you're not a hard worker, so you'll hate bodybuilding. It doesn't work like that. You might find
yeah.
love in the gym that is cannot be replicated anywhere, and you end up being the hardest worker in the room, but the one always smiling. You don't.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You don't know. So to
You're
the
gonna put
youngest
you're
out
gonna
there,
put effort. You're gonna put effort into something you love.
100%, that's passion. That's passion,
Yep.
100%. So again, the reason I want to draw a line under that point is because it goes very well with you as a guest here, QE. You're the first person I've really managed to speak to that we really discuss life and the view of
Yep.
life and being happy over being optimal. I don't personally use the term optimal really anyway. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
know, I know,
Yeah, you know what I
I
mean.
know that word is like optimal. Like, yeah, I know what you mean, but
Yeah,
like everyone throws around optimal, especially in the fitness industry. So there's optimal, this optimal.
yeah.
But I do understand what you mean. It's like,
Yeah, you're doing what makes you happy, and what makes you happy keeps you in the gym. If you weren't doing what made you happy, you wouldn't be in the gym, period. You know what I
no,
mean? So is being in the gym doing what's 95% optimal better, sorry, worse than not being in the gym at all? I don't think so. I think you're better off being here and bodybuilding and running at the same time. And again, this is my opinion as of our conversation. Because before
yeah.
coming in, I was stop running, maximize your potential, get your damn sword, and let's go on a pro stage together. That's what I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
thinking before.
yeah, I get you, man.
But but
We will one day, man.
of
One day
course,
we'll meet together on the pro stage.
of course,
And to be fair with you, this season has really, especially with running and like I said, running kind of sparked my love for training again.
yeah,
And this is the first time I'm actually gonna have a proper off season.
yeah,
Obviously, I've been to a great start of the off season, and it's actually kind of sparked my passion again for like wanting to be pro one day.
yeah.
And I feel like I have got that in me, to be pro one day. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna stop till I get a pro card in
You'll
natural
get there, man.
bodybuilding.
You'll get there. For the people who don't really know you that are watching this, because you're on and off social media quite a lot, you, I feel like, listen, they'll see your recent physique and be like, oh yeah, he's very good. I feel like they need to fully understand your 2019 physique, even your 2021 physique, because you were very young and you were good very quickly. And I feel like that is always a great marker for, first of all, good genetics, and second of all, how you apply yourself in the sport. I feel like a
Yeah,
lot of people, like Chris McCready is a great example for me. The pictures he
yeah,
shows of his before and after when he just started training, a little kid with
ridiculous.
no sign of any potential,
Yeah,
to this absolute monster that he is now. I think there's so much value in showing people stuff like that, because it's like, listen, we all start somewhere, man. We all start somewhere,
with
and
you, man.
we all have our different journeys. All of us have completely different journeys, and we all do things completely differently. Bob Waterhouse, until recently, used to get as fat
Oh
as
my
possible.
God, he's looking
Oh yeah, yeah.
ridiculous.
He's
Oh
silly
my
at the
God,
moment. Silly at the moment.
wow, probably the best I've ever seen him. Like it's
100% the
crazy.
best I've ever seen him. The biggest
That's
and
what I
the
mean. Like he's been competing for a long time as well, and
he's
still
37.
making improvement. Still making improvements.
Yeah.
Like he's big, full.
Yeah.
Like so,
Ridiculous.
the sky is the limits.
But like he said to me when he was on it, 20 years training plus, 20 plus years training. Like he's been training
Yeah,
since he was a kid. So it's all well and good looking at the finished project, which is what I'm saying now on your gram. If they go on your
yeah.
Instagram now, they see you at the Worlds. But if you see him from before, like, don't get me wrong, it was impressive immediately, but it's not the same. And him doing his running and that kind of stuff and the improvements he still made, despite, in my opinion, despite doing that, it's
we, need,
still
we, need,
very
we, need to,
impressive.
we need to come in the run one time.
Absolutely not. I even when I kicked ball, even when I kicked ball, I was explosive, winger, striker, speed. It was never, don't get me wrong, preseason I'll do what I need to do in it. But generally
Yeah,
speaking, that wasn't my thing. I was Eden Hazard all day. I was
yeah.
train at 50% and play a game at 120%. That's how I was. Like, yeah, I wasn't really, that was not really me. But listen, yeah, no, I'm never gonna consider that. But listen, I when I saw you do the marathon, I was like, that's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. Like, it's one
Now
of those
that first
things.
one, yeah, that marathon, like I've won British championships, overalls, competing in the worlds, and that marathon medal probably means the most to me because it means it 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 it's it it's kind of it kind of means to me like change
Yeah.
and change in a good direction as well because not only change in my physical aspects like being able to do that distance
Mm.
but changing mentality as well like marathon runners and ultra marathon runners are different animals,
Yeah.
like in terms of mindset.
Yeah.
Being able to put a pair of shoes on and knowing that you're gonna run for the next 4, 5, 6, some marathon runners for running for 24 hours.
Yeah.
You've got to be a different
Yeah.
breed.
Yeah.
Man, you've got to be like they always say, like you run with someone for 4 or 5 hours and you're gonna find out what they're made of.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you're gonna know a lot about a person during a long duration of time whilst running. And yeah, so like I said, it represents change in my mentality
Mm.
and in my physical. And I took that through my bodybuilding prep as well. The like training hard and obviously, like I said, I did a short prep, but there were still tough days.
Of
You know,
course.
like a calorie deficit is a calorie
Yeah. Yeah.
deficit.
You can't avoid it.
Even though I didn't go any lower than I think I was on about 300 grams of carbs for most of my prep, and you know it kind of came down a bit the last few weeks, but that's because I wasn't in uni anymore, so I wasn't doing as much activity, you know, and that time I started tapering down my running before the show. But what was I saying? I
Uh,
just kind of lost train of thought there.
you, I
I totally, I totally just forgot what I was saying.
I can't remember your
Um,
point. I remember what you're talking about, but I don't remember your
oh
point.
yeah, no, I remember. So I kind of just took that same mindset that I would have in, you know, running, of like this is my start point, and no matter what happens from this start point to that end point, I am going to finish.
Yeah.
Like no matter what obstacles. Like I remember in the marathon, I was getting cramps, my quads was locking up, my glutes, and I just didn't stop. And that kind of like changed my mentality a bit in life. Just don't stop. Like just don't stop. Whatever you do, just don't stop. In prep as well, at difficult days, just don't stop. You know, with like my uni work, I remember I was I had so much going on with uni, trying to do
Mm.
assignments, trying to do stuff on 2 weeks' notice. It was just don't stop, just don't stop. From that start line to the finish, just don't stop. And I just took that mentality and applied it to literally everything I do. And whatever I do, I just tell myself, just don't stop.
Well, Q, I'm happy for you. I'm glad I managed to speak to you myself because, like I told you already, I had my reservations about it all. But I'm glad, I'm glad you've got me on side again.
And I'm glad we cleared that up.
um, yeah, listen. I'm always open to learning. I'm always open to listening. I never feel something, even if I feel it very strongly. I never feel like my mind can't be changed or enlightened. It's not necessarily about changing my mind. It's about enlightening me to information that I didn't have before to consider. And this conversation has helped me personally a lot. Obviously, I don't talk to people about your journey, and so I don't know
Yeah.
what the general consensus is about you running. But from me and a point of view of knowing what you're capable of as a bodybuilder, that was my main reservation. But again, the
You
understanding
know,
I'm getting.
it's understandable why you're saying that.
Yeah, yeah,
For that note, I just want to make a quick shout out to AJ as well because AJ has been a huge help,
yeah.
especially with the running as well. Like obviously at the start of this prep, I spoke to him. We've been friends for a while. I spoke to him, but right, I'm gonna do a bodybuilding prep, but I'm gonna do it my way. I'm
Mhm.
gonna run because mentally it puts me in a good position to be able to give 100% to the prep. If I don't run, it's just gonna my mental health is not gonna be the same,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm not gonna be able to put as much into the prep. I'm gonna do a marathon 6 weeks before the show. I'm gonna do the show, and I'm hopefully gonna do the worlds as well.
yeah,
We laid out the plan. Um, I, obviously, he was on board as well. It was
yeah.
just like right. Um, obviously, it's not a sport you would normally put together. but
Mm-hmm.
but if it's going to make this process easier and better for you and more productive and more optimal for me, then that is the way you should do it. Um, no matter like yes, you can do it without the running and um, you know, do well, But if you feel like the running is going to make that process better for you, then I 100% agree with you doing it. So we did that, gets food high, did the marathon, started coming down. Like he had no troubles with me doing that marathon and doing things my way in terms of nutrition as well. Because nutritionally, I kind of did my own plan. Like I know foods that obviously work well for me, foods that I've used in the past, like
Yeah.
just the standard oats, potatoes,
Yeah.
whatever. So that was all me, and obviously it'll tell me, oh, drop maybe 80 grams of carbs, drop maybe, and I'll drop it from there. But I, it's kind of although I said it was my coach, it was more like a very, 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 very close and good friend. We
Yeah.
spoke every single day of prep. Just in sometimes not even for checking, just like, oh, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
was your run? Like, oh, you had a good run. Like after my marathon, it was like, also, how did the marathon go? Like nothing to do with it, just like being able to come at it from a very holistic approach
Yeah.
and focusing on the mental health as well as the physical, and as well as how my body was reacting. So so just being able to do everything with him, and being able to do things that I love,
Mm.
I can't honestly like thank him enough, for that. And I do think a lot of people would have maybe frowned upon what I was doing.
Yeah.
And obviously everyone always has their opinions. And I love answering questions like you asked me, or don't you think this? I love that question because you're asking me and you're intrigued. You're kind of saying,
Yeah.
does this not? And obviously I've explained to you that it might do, but I do it for different reasons,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
so you kind of understand that now. But for the people that maybe just throw judgment out there,
Yeah. They're just too
um,
judgmental. They're just too
yeah, like
judgmental.
it's kind of, like like this whole like thing around this whole thing about you can only do one thing.
Yeah.
Like this is the box and you need to be in it. You
Mm.
can't be outside that box.
Yeah.
You know. So that is what I don't like. And so you've got to be able to do things that you love, and if that means maybe combining two things that normally don't go together, maybe you'll be the one that makes it work. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm the one that makes it work.
Yeah.
Maybe so you never know. So I just special thanks to AJ Morris being in my corner since God knows how, and he's obviously been a fantastic coach as well as a fantastic friend. And I couldn't have done it, without him, especially the last few weeks, because I could have not made any of them decisions myself because I was just
You was gone.
I just thought I
Prep
looked
brain.
fat, to be fair. Yeah, to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
just prep brain, to be honest, man, prep brain. But yeah,
So
um,
sorry. Go on. No. No. I didn't mean to cut you.
no. You can go. I was just gonna say, just about potentially, obviously, competing again.
I was just
Um,
about to ask you that before we went. What are your plans for going forward?
so plans for going forward, so come coming top five at the worlds, especially I placed second among the British guys. So Chris Palin narrowly beat me again,
Mhm.
and he placed third. Um, I do think it was a close battle, and he's a great competitor. And I think maybe just his condition and his a bit thickness and his muscle maturity from the
Yeah.
back as well kind of stole it away, from me, which is fine. But placing top five qualified me for the UK UK British finals, the Natural Olympia, and the I think it's the Universe. So all three shows.
This year only.
But
This year though.
this year, yeah, this year. But but I had already planned to do a marathon in October,
Right.
right? So I will not be competing on stage this year. Um, but I will
Okay.
be but I will be competing elsewhere. So in a marathon, hopefully be doing the Chester Marathon on the 8th of October. Um, I am currently um, I am currently 16 weeks out of that marathon.
Nice.
So so I'm just treating it like again bodybuilding prep, but it's a marathon prep. So 16 weeks out, right now just tailoring up training, doing a long run. So I started off at 10K last week. So I increased that to 12K, 14K. So peaking at 30K on training, and then I'll taper back down for the race day. And pretty much what I did for the Manchester Marathon earlier this year. Um, so that is competitive. That's my competitive stuff this year. But I am planning to return this to the stage in 2025. So I am planning on taking the rest of this year off, all throughout next year off, because I've got some ultra marathons that I'd like to do next
Mhm.
year. So that will be like 75K runs that could last anywhere from 7 to 8 hours. So I'm planning to do them next year, whilst obviously still continuing my off season. Um, and then 2025, I'm looking to return to the stage and hopefully do better than I did this season. Improve, have a better package, leaner, bigger, denser. Um, yeah, that's the goal. So 2025, I've kind of you know I've kind of put that in my diary. Like 2025, I'm returning, and I am going to do everything I can to progress and hopefully bring a better package in 2025 and see how I do amongst the top amateurs in the UK and hopefully in the world as well.
I look forward to it. I'm going to tag your Instagram in the description and across the video at the beginning and the end. So probably around nowish. Um,
Yep.
guys, head over to Queey's page. It's more than a bodybuilding page. It's very interesting. I personally watch all of his posts, and let me tell you, I don't really go on anyone's Instagram to look for posts, but I love seeing Queey's mixture of training, running, obviously occasional physique updates. Obviously, recently it's been because of his show, but
Yep.
yeah, you're gonna get a good mixture of obviously, oh yeah, you've been doing vlogs as well, which I've been watching.
Yeah, man. Like I actually stole that from you. It's just like I said with the memory thing as well. Like the memories are always good to document.
Yeah,
And I did a bit of vlog going into like I did a bit with the Manchester Marathon. I did some for the UK for the qualifier. I did
yeah.
some for the world, and I will be doing one for like my marathons and just like trips and stuff. Just because I like watching them, so I'm gonna make some, and it's just nice to look back on. Just
Yeah.
to see what you did last year. It's just a nice little clip of pictures and videos of an event.
Don't stop doing it. I think we're in an age now, yeah, where everything is on a camera and it can get too much sometimes. But I think the
Yeah,
important moments of our lives, I think we forget that there are going to be people after us. So in my case, I'm having a child. I
yeah.
would love in
Oh yeah, congrats by the way.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
I would
Well
love
done.
in like 10, 15 years to sit here and show her that exact video of that I made for a local bodybuilding show, and she's just like, "Oh
Yeah,
shit, that's my dad." Like I would love
yeah,
that. So these are
yeah,
the things. It don't matter what likes and views you get. I'm doing this
yeah,
podcast not because I'm making money or getting loads of views. Clearly, I'm not. Yeah, but
yeah.
I enjoy doing it. It's enlightening conversations with good people. I only ask people that I'm genuinely interested in things that is going on. And again, everyone will have their time. There will be people that don't have things going on at the moment that will do in future that I really want to talk about. Um, but generally speaking, these things are memories. These things are a virtual log, aka vlog, video log of things that are important to you. And even if you're the only one with your loved ones sitting there watching these back, then
Yep.
so be
It's
it. So be
exactly.
it. Your journey is for you and your loved ones to enjoy. It's not for necessarily anybody else. If anybody else wants to enjoy it with you, then that's obviously a bonus. That's great. But yeah, head over to Q's Instagram. He's got a lot of interesting stuff. His journey's clearly very going to be very interesting. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Um, And yeah, good luck, Queey, on your marathon. That's something that I can't really offer much advice about. I know you'll do fine. I know you'll do fine on stage when you're next on stage. Like I said, the package I saw of you recently was the best I've seen between balance between size and conditioning. Listen,
Thanks.
the more you go on, the more you understand how running affects your body, your off season, your competition, your diet, all this kind of stuff. All you'll do is get better. So
Yeah, definitely,
I'm
man.
excited, man. I'm excited. But yeah, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sparing the time.
No
Um,
worries, man.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. I might start saying that more often. I don't really know yet. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, see you guys next time. Cheers.